Hello everyone, this is Serious Trivia, and welcome back to our subscriber game tournament as we continue with match 2 of round 3 between our number 4 seed player, Will Be Deed, in the green versus the number 5 seed player, PKM, in the red. Now this will be the only match of round 3, or round of 8, where we have two players who both were able to defeat me in round 2, so it should be an exciting one. And unsurprisingly, our higher seeded player here, Will Be Deed, opted for the high ground in this match. So let's first take a look at their drafts before jumping into the game. And if we look at Will Be Deed's army composition of Yuan Shao, Zhao Yun, and Ma Chao, it seems like he opted for a heavy melee infantry composition supplemented with 4 Qiang Hunters as his only range option. Now of course, Qiang Hunters are very powerful in that they have excellent range as well as good melee charge, so even when they do run out of arrows, they're one of the few sort of range cavalry that has sort of a glaive weapon or a long range weapon that's bonus against large with decent amount of charge bonus to counter other cavalry. But there is not a lot of other sort of range options in this army, and that's usually fine in multiplayer. He did not bring a strategist, however, so the forest is going to be a challenge for him, and there are going to be opportunities to sneak up on him using the forest as he has no foresight, and with the fog, perhaps there's not going to be a lot of good targets for these Qiang Hunters. Now, I believe the Qiang Hunters will have fire arrows because there is a commander in the army, so that is an option available to him. As for his infantry units, he went with very premium units. We have 2 Protector of Heaven, we have 4 Pearl Dragons, and 2 of the Northern Saber infantry. So overall, high quality, sort of shieldless units for the most part, but they're going to do great in terms of countering other melee units as well as other cavalry units, because we are basically holding polearm weapons. And for the 4 Pearl Dragons, because they're on the Sentinel General, who is tier 3 by default because that's the only version of Zhao Yun that we are allowing in the tournament, they will have charge negation, so they can actually withstand some charges without any issue, and then their glaive weapon and their high damage output is going to put them ahead against enemy cavalry should that be an issue. And looking at PKM's army in the red, we have Zhou Yu leading the way with a handmade guard. So he's brought for his foresight ability as well as the 25% guard bonus, which will protect the generals from the handmade guard. And then we have Duo Si, which I believe is making his first appearance in the tournament, and it's a rather odd choice because all 6 Nanman generals share the same exact units, and since you're bringing elephants here, you could have brought any of the Nanman general, and I believe there's probably better choices than Duo Si, who's rather weak in terms of combat capabilities and abilities available to him. For example, Lady Zhurong with her flaming mace would have been a better choice, or even Wu Tugu with his short cooldown smash ability would have been a better choice here as well. So I feel like Duo Si is a bit lacking. Now there could be a possibility where PKM was running out of funds and he couldn't afford one of those more premium Nanman generals, but if that was the case, maybe consider different army compositions, because I see that he did level up his Ye Vanguard Spearmen to level 3, at least 2 of them. And those units are going to be on Yanliang here, which is also an interesting choice. Now Yanliang does have a roar, does have the Flame of the Phoenix for the smash, and his special unique ability gives himself extra melee mass for the charge as well as some extra charge bonus. So that's useful, but I'm not sure if he's the best general here, because there are a lot of choices when it comes to Ye Vanguard Spearmen, Yuan Shao for boosting morale for example, or even Ventral for his roar ability that can reduce enemy morale by 30 points, which is actually stronger than Yanliang's standard Roar of the Beast, which is only 15 points. Now, you might argue for unlimited use, but there's 4 uses on Ventral's ability, and I doubt in a battle of this scale that you would end up needing more than 4 Roars. But regardless, this is the 2 armies that we have, so let's jump into game. Now the only reason why we're in tactical view here, despite the fog, is because PKM actually guerrilla deployed right behind Will Be Deed's army, so he's actually taking advantage of having a guerrilla deployment army, which might explain some of his general choices. I know Ventral, Ventral being a champion, probably doesn't have guerrilla deployment, and that the Vanguard might actually be the one who has it, which is kind of interesting in terms of his approach here. Now, zooming in to see how exactly he's using his guerrilla deployment, he did put most of his units into the forest, so they are not all hidden. This unit is not hidden here, neither is this, which is very interesting, because I would have believed that the way he spread his unit out like this, he would have wanted every unit hidden. That might be an oversight here by these two units. Or else he would have surprised Welby here, who does not have a strategist with foresight. He does not have vision. He could just assume that the fog in the trees hiding the units in front of him. But because these two units are not hidden here, it's kind of giving away the guerrilla deployment. That's a bit unfortunate, but looking at Welby's deployment, it's fairly standard given his army composition. It's mostly melee infantry, some polearm, but basically melee infantry fighting styles with some ranged cavalry, and they are the one who will scout, who will poke and harass, while everyone else will stay together for the most part. And Yuan Shao is no surprise, tier 3 with his distant courage. Zhao Yun has to be tier 3. The reason why we made this rule is because he starts out with the blue blade even at tier 1, and just presents kind of an unfair advantage for players if you can just select him a tier 1 with a gold weapon when all other generals have to start with a bronze weapon. Ma Chao, also tier 3, so we have a fair bit of roar. Now 2 Flame of the Phoenix, because both Zhao Yun and Ma Chao can have that ability, and the Advent Resolve can help push Zhao Yun easily over 100% melee evasion while he waits for his Elemental Vigor to power up. Basically, for the first 20 seconds, you use Adamant Resolve to power yourself up, and then after that 20 seconds, as you can see, you'll have at least 15% kick in, so you'll be at 75%, eventually powering yourself to at least 85% melee evasion plus doubling your armor piercing damage, which isn't much with the blue blade, but fortunately you can cut enemy armor in half with this weapon, and thus making your slightly higher average melee base damage being a factor with very fast melee attack rate, both because of the weapon and because of skills like Zeal, which are on Sentinels boosting attack rates. So Zhao Yun's a very fearsome duelist just by the fact that he can hit you really, really fast with a weapon that shreds your armor, so that both damage types will be a factor, and he will dodge most of your attacks because of high melee evasion, both from his abilities as well as his passive boost here. Ma Chao is pretty straightforward, just the roar plus the Flame of Phoenix, fights exactly like a standard Vanguard unit, and Yuan Shao here is the unbreakable morale boosting general as long as he stays out of combat. So pretty well rounded here. The army definitely wasn't ready for guerrilla deployment, but unfortunately that position has been given away because of these two units. Now the rest of the deployment makes some sense, I guess. We have sort of the frontline units here, plus the handmade guard whose job is just to stick with the generals. Now, Zhou Yu here does not shut down enemy abilities. That's one of his weaknesses. His foresight ability, the Ripple of Perspective, only it replaces Stifling Deluge. So he does not have that ability, but he does have Wisdom River. The proper timing of this ability on Zhao Yun is going to be the key of killing him. If you do not use this ability on Zhao Yun, it's very hard to see how these generals can take him out, because it's just going to be very hard to hit him. Now, Yanao, as we mentioned, pretty much a standard Vanguard general plus a replacement for the charging ability. Now, this is also a charging ability, but it's much better. It gives him more mass, gives him extra charge bonus, as well as increased damage, and causes terror. Duosi, this is where I think I have a problem with the choice. Now, he does have a good weapon. Most of them in general have great weapons. He has a bow. I don't know if that's going to be a factor here. But looking at the active abilities, he has an active ability that shuts down enemy abilities, but the cooldown is extremely long, and I just don't see this as a very firm shutdown because you're only increasing it by 30 seconds, so there's like a 90-second gap where they can use this after the cooldown's over. So it's not really useful. And then Nature's Protection, range block chance, melee evasion, active ability for nearby units, 75 meters, 30-second duration. Okay, the melee evasion's good. The 10 points of morale is so-so. And then endless volley. This is what he's more known for. Like in campaign, he is the poison dart user for the troops, hidden vipers. So you end up with a range attack rate boost and a melee attack rate boost. I don't know if this type of sort of passive buff is what you want to see on a general. I feel like he's going to be missing out with no offensive ability. So Yan'an has to take care of all the offensive, duties for this army because Zhou not really a fighter, and Duosi doesn't have any sort of aggressive abilities that can help you kill units. So the elephant's actually going to have a pretty tall task of taking out all the enemy infantry, and they can do that. If microed properly, elephants are very fearsome infantry destroyers. It does take quite a bit of microing skill in terms of charging a clean entry and exit. You just want to run through the units for the most part. You don't want to actually drag yourself in melee. So we'll see how this plays out. I originally thought, given the army composition and even the guerrilla deployment, which is very, very smart, that we'll actually have, potentially these Vanguard Spearmen perhaps in a square formation with their firing turned off and just wait for the enemy cavalry to run into it, chasing potentially like an elephant, and then just spring upon them with the crossbow damage, which will quickly wipe them out actually. But now that their position is kind of given away, I don't know how this will play out. So let's see how this battle actually goes. So they should quickly identify the units right there. And they're moving back now, right? They're trying to shift away. Okay, so we have very good patience by Will Be Deed, which is a rare thing. I feel like a lot of players rush into the fight. You should actually, kind of weigh your options. Charging into elephant, definitely not a good idea. Does he have fire arrow? That's a good question. He does not have fire arrow. Right, so the lack of strategists is going to be a thing here. Not only does he have no vision of the units inside the forest, unless he's close enough, or unless they're moving and they're not hidden, they can't light it up. So actually, the Vanguard Spearmen can sit pretty happily in the forest with the fog and just tank up these arrows. They're not going to do much damage actually. There's no rush. Pull the elephants back. Or not. Or the elephants can come into the open. Right, I feel like this is the lack of patience. The elephants are never going to catch those tail hunters. Why charge them out and take the damage? You can easily sit the Vanguard Spearmen in the forest and let them waste their arrow into a unit with 55% range block chance. They can easily build that up too. 10% more. Or 15% more. Alright, the generals are starting to fight. The elephants are going after the generals instead of the infantry. We have a very quick use of the Wisdom of the River, which is smart. But let's see, who are they trying to chase? They're trying to chase Zhao Yun, I believe. But then they're kiting back really quickly. Yuan Shao is just trying to boost. The infantry doesn't really want to mess with the elephants right now either, so that's just a fair fight. Harassment by them. They have gone to square and they're starting to shoot these cavalry. And the elephants are actually just chasing generals, which is not really what they're designed for. Well, the generals have peeled away. Will Be Deed is trying to swarm the elephants, and the elephants trying to chase the cavalry now. I don't know about this. So the Northern Sabers, the melee infantry, has gone into a melee fight against a spearman unit, which is smart. They beat them in the fight. If they're square like this, you want to get into melee as quickly as you can. And these elephants are just not going after this clump of infantry that they can crush so easily here. Now they're they lost basically their momentum, right? You can't ask them to charge at this distance. They're trying to wipe out a few units, which they can. And it seems like there's two fights going on right now. Will Be Deed is pulling his general away from the elephants and gonna try to throw his infantry in there, which is also not very optimal, but because the generals lack firepower, only Yanao has any sort of smash ability, who he's not using. He's trying to reduce the morale. He's going after... So this job should have been Duosi's job, because he actually has an infantry killing ability. The elephants Oh my god. Okay, the elephant's chasing after a general. So basically all the units are selected at once, pulling them away from a melee fight, which hurts them a lot. Right? When you peel a unit away from a current engagement, they take a lot of damage. And they're trying to ask all these elephants. There's not even enough space for elephants to be in there to actually kill the general. They're doing damage, but like they would have done more damage if it's just the general on Yuan Shao and the elephant just stayed behind, because the elephant could just body block for him. Now we already see that the Northern Saber has beaten the Ye Vanguard because melee infantry beats spear units. Now, can Yuan Shao live here? Ooh, nice use of evasion here. Maybe Yuan Shao will die here. But like I said, I feel like the elephant is just making it messier even for PKM to try to kill these generals, because there's just bodies in the way. Like, he's just sending them. I don't know. You spent 5,000 plus on 5 elephants and they're just being used to chase one general? But we'll see how it goes. So like, Wolby Deed is just using Yuan Shao as bait now. He's just running him away, letting the arrows do stuff, and trying to clear out infantry with the help of his generals, who has free reign with their abilities to do things. All right, we have 2 Flame the Phoenix. Quickly make quick work of that. So all these Vanguard Spearmen getting picked off. Yuan Shao is still alive because they were in the cluster. So he didn't dismount by choice. He dismounted because he was running around kind of confused with all the... And you can see, even if the elephants didn't go after those units got killed. The elephants deal massive collision damage. And he just like focused down on them. It would have been a lot cleaner. But we don't know who will win this. This is still close. Yeah, now seems to have also lost his mount. And they're going after the infantry, sure. And we have a very healthy Zhao Yun and a very healthy Ma Chao. They need to focus the general. I think the key is timing the Wisdom of the River. Get a kill. Zhao Yun, I believe, is unbreakable. Yes, he is. Ma Chao is not. Ma Chao is getting boosted, I feel like. He's not actually 100. I could be wrong, though. We'll see. We'll see if Yuan Shao ever dies here. Ma Chao's getting hit. The general has good firepower. Ma Chao died. Okay. So let's see how Zhao Yun does it. Smashed. Alright, the elephant's about to die. They've been alive long enough. We got another roar from Yan Ao, a smash from Yan Ao. They're hunting down Yuan Shao right now. Yuan Shao is just trying his best to run. There's only one general on the horse, which is Duo Si, so he's the only one who can chase. Oh, the cavalry broke the chase. The last elephant finally routed. Yuan Shao is just kiting the whole way. Oh, Zhao Yun's turning things around here against Yan Ao. And the cavalry too. The cavalry got a clean charge on him. He's on foot. That's his main problem. Alright, we got a nice use of the wisdom, but oh no, he needs to be here helping out against Zhao Yun. Yuan Shao, the ultimate bait. He finally went down. Zhao Yun is not unbreakable. Right, it's a fake unbreakable. So with Yuan Shao dead, it's gonna come down to the... Okay. Now Zhou Yu is actually unbreakable. Who are they chasing? Yeah, the cavalry's gone. It's just the general. There's one unit here. It's 2v2. No, he need to have it selected on Zhao Yun, not on the units. Alright, yeah, that's what... Perhaps dismount Duo Si right here. He's wasting so much time charging around. Zhao Yun used his Admin Resolve 115%. Does he have another Wisdom River in him? Because right now nothing's going to hit him. One of the cavalry unit bounced back. Is Duo Si at risk of losing morale? No, he seems fine. The charge hurts. Oh no, he's about to rout. Army loss kicked in. Because he has no other units. Zhou Yu versus Zhao Yun. I think this is rather hopeless. It's not a fair fight, especially since Zhao Yun has... Okay, killed him. That was close. So I feel like this battle, it was a very strategic choice by both players. I think the elephant was wasted quite a bit. There was a chance for the elephant to just wipe out the infantry right here. Yuan Shao bought so much time, just forcing those elephants to chase around, even the generals. Like, he had Duosi chasing him for a long time. That's why Yan died. Yan was on foot fighting everyone else. Well, you know, you have the chase down of Yuan Shao. Now, I'm not saying you shouldn't kill Yuan Shao. He's very key. You know, once you killed him, every other general obviously showed that they are not actually unbreakable. But because they still had units left, since their town hunters never really got into the thick of things, whereas all the units for PKM already routed, army loss kicked in first, and Duosi wasn't able to dish out his damage. And I feel like, you know, if you had maybe a more aggressive general instead of Duosi, someone like Zhu Rong, her flaming mace would counter Zhao Yun perfectly. One whack, minus 50 melee evasion right there, and that's probably would have turned things around. But both players made some choices here. The abandonment of the Ye Vanguard Spearmen. Now, they're great counter cavalry units. You leave them in a square, you have a pretty nice zone. But they got engaged on. They got engaged on up close by those Saber infantry, the Northern Saber infantry, and then the general came to help. Two generals with Flame of the Phoenix made really quick work of them. They were just sort of forgotten, I guess. I guess the micro attention was pretty much on the elephants and the generals, and they were trying to use that to chase down the enemy generals. I feel like elephants could have done a better job. Could have taken this slower. I think PKM was too aggressive, especially in the case where he had the vision advantage because he brought Zhou Yu and he was fighting army without fire arrows, without any strategists. If he had just taken a little bit slower, the town hunter's damage, sure, it's annoying, but if you think about it, you're dealing with 120 units total with about 58 ammo perhaps. That's one archer unit, right? 4 of those cavalry equal 1 archer unit. Even if they shoot all their arrows at your elephants, you're not taking that much damage, especially if you stay in the fog, stay in the forest. They can't really touch you. Like, you lose some health, but that's it. If their infantry try to approach you, charge the elephant out at the infantry. If they, you know, try to shift forward, you still have your range. Their cavalry take any misstep into the forest, your Ye Vanguard can actually destroy them. So if PKM took a more defensive position in that fight instead of just charging out the elephants recklessly at the enemy general, I feel like it would have probably went a lot better because he had the upper hand in terms of even the guerrilla deployment move to take the high ground advantage away, use the forest. There was a few misplays, you know, leaving a few units out to give away your vanguard, your guerrilla deployment position. Because if he didn't have those 2 units visible, there was no way that Will Be Deed was even going to look behind. He probably sent a few cavalry units forward to look for where those units are, because you see the fog. There's no way he knows which forest that unit are hiding in. And at that point, the advantage is going to be huge. Like, have your elephant sneak through the forest here, pop out right from this side, and there's no reaction time for those infantry, and probably would have gotten a lot of value there. So let's take a look at the numbers here. And yeah, so elephants did their damage on very valuable units too. And you even saw that these elephants were not commanded to rush down these units. They were not given any charge command at the infantry, yet the infantry still took massive damage from just the collision itself. And that would have gone like so much better if he just took the time, used the elephants to actually wipe out the infantry first. The generals probably was more of a threat to the elephants in the end game anyways. Chasing them, it's like sending your cavalry into a general that has Flame of the Phoenix is a bad move. Because once your cavalry catch up to that general, they smash, your cavalry dies. You can send your cavalry to, like, say, Yuan Shao. He has no counterplays to that. He gets chased down, he gets killed. That's a great play. But sending elephants or cavalry into someone who you know have Flame of the Phoenix is just a bad play. Especially with elephants who are not as fast as generals, so you're not chasing them down. And in all that mess of running into these guys, 2 of his generals got dismounted, which I think ultimately hurt him a bit because there was always a lag. Only Duosi could really chase around, while Yanliang was kind of stuck on the ground and ended up getting killed in the cluster of enemy units and generals. But overall, very close fight. Came down to pretty much, a general plus 2 units versus 2 generals. And Army lost in the end, got PKM. So great fight here. Congratulations to Will Be Deed for moving on. And we'll come back for the next match tomorrow. So until then, bye.